It had been a duel which could end only one way.
Dead strength, dead strength. Oh!
I suppose any sane person would want the negotiations to work. But I suppose there's a little bit of you, and certainly in my own mind, there's a little bit that you want to be used. So I suppose, yes, there is a little bit of you wants the thing to get that far.
But that's the last thing Trevor Locke and the hostages want. They're desperate for the police negotiations to succeed and frustrated at the apparent stalemate. They're terrified it may all end in bloodshed. As the world's media wait and watch, the hostages try to persuade the gunmen to give up and make an honourable surrender.
We told them, if it was publicity you want, the best idea for you is to decide to give up. You will get all the world media inside this embassy. At that moment, you make your decision. We decided to give ourselves up, and the hostages are free to go. Can you imagine what kind of victory your cause would have achieved if you do that? We reached that stage, talking to them, talking about graphic scenes, you know, what would happen if they decide to take this step. And of course, when we reached that moment, we felt hopeful.
Their arguments prove persuasive. The gunmen demand that the BBC should broadcast a statement about the Arabistani cause. Trevor and Mustapha plead with the police to make it happen.
They want it broadcast. They have to ask, which goes back to the psychological aspect. They must ask. And if they ask, they've got to give.
And what the police want in return for the broadcast is a hostage. An interpreter relays the message.
Would you please have him now?
Is he prepared to release a hostage after he has seen Tony Crabbe?
آیا حاضر هستین بعد از اینکه آقای تونی کراب دیدین یک از گروگان‌ها را چیز آزاد کنین؟
خیر. ولی اگه جسد دیجونش رو می‌خواید بعد از چند لحظه
No, we're not prepared to free any of the hostages, but if you want to see a dead body of any of the hostages, you may see them in a few minutes.
In the final event, we reached an agreement with them that we would have a hostage immediately after the broadcast. There was a downside to that. If the broadcast wasn't made after we'd promised, there'd be a dead hostage.
The hope is that after publicity for their cause, the gunmen will surrender. It's agreed the BBC will broadcast the statement at 9 p.m.
So everybody was sitting next to everybody, waiting, counting the seconds for the time. Oh my God, still 5 minutes to go, etc. Everyone asking everyone else, it's going to be released, do you think so?
But first, the news in full from Dili Bala.
And the news came and they talked about A, B, C, the football, the weather, but no statement. And at the end of the broadcast, they broadcast the fact that a statement had been handed, and it was cut down to about a sentence. And that was the end of the broadcast.
And your feeling?
Horror. I have never been so horrified in my life. I sat there stunned, I couldn't believe it, because I knew there would be a dead hostage. And I said, I'm bloody well not answering it, I can't. We sat there frozen. We're just waiting to see the dead body thrown out the door. Salim was delighted. The BBC had broadcast the entire statement, but on a different channel.
On the World Service?
On the World Service. And they'd been flipping through and they'd heard it. And we got our live hostage.
The statement of the group holding the hostages. We swear to God and to the British people and government that no danger whatsoever would be inflicted.
From the first word he uttered, everybody in the room, some of us were sitting, some of us were standing, Some of them were, outside the door, etc. Every single one of us started jumping, hugging each other, cheering, as if a victory happened.
We demand the 3 ambassadors, Algerian, Jordanian, and Iraqi, to start their jobs in negotiating to secure the safety of the hostages and to terminate the whole operation peacefully.
The gunmen themselves come into the room, mingled among us, and jump with us, and also cheering and kissing each other. Yes.
There's joy inside and relief outside. Perhaps the stalemate is broken. The police arrange for a takeaway, and for the first time in 4 days, gunmen and hostages enjoy a meal together. These photographs were taken by the gunman using a camera belonging to a hostage. The camera was later found inside the embassy. The photos were intended as souvenirs of the gunman's trip to London. They've never been shown before.
So you think it's all over?
Well, I think we're cruising then. They'd sent cigarettes in, not that I smoked, but they'd sent cigarettes in, they'd sent food in. Yeah, I thought, slept quite well that night.
Good morning to you. It's 6:30. This is Richard Vaughan, and welcome to another day's programmes on Radio London 206 and VHF. I'll be here with you
on Sunday morning. The mood is optimistic and Salim is happy. The end of the siege may well be in sight.
Salim was contemplating giving up. There was something in his voice, because I'd said to him, look, come on, this can't go on. You cannot stay here for the rest of your life. There has to be an ending. You haven't hurt anybody. You haven't killed anybody. It's time to give up. I forget exactly what he said, but I had the feeling that he was probably going to, they were beginning to think that way.
Inside the embassy, one of the gunmen, flushed with the success of the broadcast, writes insulting slogans about Iran's leader, Ayatollah Khomeini.
I remember distinctly one of the slogans which said in Arabic, يسقط الشاه المعمم, down with the new Shah, quite offensive to the Islamic Revolution and to Khomeini himself.
Watching with fast burning anger is a young Iranian hostage called Abbas Labasani. He's the embassy's press attaché and fervent disciple of the Islamic Revolution.
Abbas Labasani was to me, was very gentleman, very polite, and terribly religious man, and he was in love and in favor of Ayatollah Khomeini. And many a time we sat together and talked to each other. And he always advised me, don't show yourself happy, and don't show yourself you are frightened. Always be ready to be martyred. I said, why? He said, because I'm happy and I like to be martyred.
Well, he was part of a small group of extremely passionate pro-Khomeini people in the Iranian group. And this caused friction with the terrorists. When he saw that the terrorists had written on the wall, death to Khomeini, he was all, he attacked Faisal.
Faisal is Salim's second in command. To the hostages, he's the toughest of the gunmen.
It suddenly went from this relaxed, how are we going to go home today, atmosphere, to the complete opposite. And he was absolutely throwing all this excitable verbal venom at Faisal.